Just really looking for a lot of help right now.
Hey, listen, don't worry about it, man. I got you, bro. I got you.
I got you. Trust me.
You can trust me. I got your back.
Look, trust me, man. I got you.
Don't worry. I got you.
Confía en mí, todo va a estar bien.
Good morning, South Hills. It is truly a blessing and an honor to be here today. Today, we're kicking off a brand new series. My name is Efrain Peña. I'm the campus pastor here, and my heart's prayer is that today, not only would you enjoy your time here with us this morning, but that again, that God would take you on an incredible journey, that He would inspire you and encourage you to live your life for Him differently than what you have been doing so far. And today, we are kicking off a brand new series titled Trust Issues, right? As I was prepping for this series, it was a struggle. It's a struggle because I think trust is something that we all, whether we want to admit to it or not, we all kind of find ourselves struggling in that area of trusting, right? We all know that trust is really a big deal. Nothing really works without it. When you have it, there's nothing like the confidence and the security that comes with it. But truth is, we've all given it and later somehow regretted it. Someone broke it. Someone abused it. We didn't see or react to the warning signs soon enough, and we were wounded in the process. And afterwards, we found ourselves so much more skeptical, right? So much on guard or even completely closed off. In some ways, it protected us, right? And in others, it kind of isolated us. The truth is, we're not sure where to go from here. Some people just don't deserve our trust, right? Are Christians really allowed to say that? That some people don't deserve our trust? And at the same time, being overly suspicious of everyone all the time doesn't seem to work either. So how does trust work? How does trust work, and how do you build it? How do you know when to give it or when to kind of withhold it? And is it even possible to fix it when it's broken? The life of Jesus gives us incredible insight into all of these questions. And some of his advice, really, that we're going to be talking about over the next several weeks, some of his advice is so unexpected. So unexpected. So let's jump into this morning and get this started with a talk on why trust is such a big deal. Why trust is such a big deal. Ever had someone say, trust me, trust me. Come on, you can trust me, right? And you were a bit suspicious, or as they say, you're so sus, right? You were a bit suspicious of that person, of trusting that person, but then decided, I'll take their advice. And it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to, and you actually regretted it. Like they said, man, you should really eat here. You should really, it is delicious. Ever had someone tell you that? It is absolutely, no, it's not. I went there. It absolutely sucked. The food was horrible, and the guy wiping his sweat and touching my food, that was not good. That was not good. They said, man, you should totally get your wife this. She's going to absolutely love it. No, she didn't. And now I'm in trouble because of that. When trust is broken, we look back and think, man, I should have known better. I should have known better. How could they do this to me? I trusted them. You ever said that? I trusted them. Friends, we all know that the heartache of discovering someone we trusted let us down is sometimes irreparable. Sometimes it's not that they betrayed us, if we really think about it. If we take a deep dive, it's not that they betrayed us, it's that they just couldn't do what we wanted done. They just couldn't do it. And unfortunately, sometimes the stakes are high and the pain runs deep. Like maybe a teammate didn't pull their weight and stuck you with all of the pressure to win and succeed. Or when someone at work made you look bad so they could get a promotion. Or a friend you shared deep secrets with told everyone. Or someone you loved couldn't love you back the way you needed them to love you. The examples are endless. If we surveyed the room in here, we would all have our own examples and experiences of someone letting us down, someone we confided in, someone we trusted. We put our trust in their hands and they kind of played with it. And quite honestly, some of these examples may turn our stomachs. The situations are different, but the pain that they cause is the same. And in the aftermath, we're left hurt, we're left betrayed, we're left angry and suspicious and wondering if we would ever be able to trust again. There's some of you right now feeling that way. Friends, the bottom line is when trust is severed, we suffer. When trust is severed, we suffer. And often we get caught off guard. We didn't see it coming. It hit us from the side. We were blindsided by it. Listen, we don't always know why something didn't work, but we have the scars to prove it didn't. Some of us get to the place where we think, man, I'm not sure that I could ever trust anyone ever again. And that's a tough place to be in. And when this happens, it's obviously that you've been hurt. You've been hurt. To go around feeling, man, I don't know if I could trust people anymore means that you've been hurt at some point in your life to the point that you feel like you need to isolate yourself from others. And at the same time, truth be told, you cannot survive in a modern society without trusting somebody. You don't want to trust somebody because they've hurt you and that hurt is real. And yet you can't really live in modern society without trusting somebody. You would pretty much have to head for the hills and live alone in the hills somewhere. And some of you like, Pastor, don't tempt me. Pastor, don't tempt me. And I get it. I get it. To live in and around other people requires a tremendous amount of trust in people. Trust in your family, trust in your neighbors, trust in your co-workers. We have to trust that other drivers will not swerve into our lane when we drive. Think about that. Like you're driving, some of us don't even think about it. It's like, we're bopping to the music, right? And you what you're actually doing is trusting that Billy or Wilmer or Pepe or Maria, I want to make sure I cover all the demographics here, right? Will not swerve into your lane. We have to trust that the person who's prepping our food at the restaurant did not spit in it. What? It happens. We have to trust that those who hold your money in the bank will not run like Forrest Gump with it. See, the list goes on and on. But that's not what most of us mean. Right? Most of us are okay trusting in a general way, but just not in a personal way. That's where the problem lies. So what do we mean when we say we have a hard time trusting? Right? So let's start there. Let's define what trust is. Trust is allowing someone to access to something that you care for deeply, right? Because you see them as safe, you see them as honest and reliable. That is trust, right? And a lot of you are here thinking, "Yup, that's the one thing I cannot do, Pastor. I cannot trust someone. I don't find someone safe, reliable, or honest." And the pain of previous experiences runs so deep that it's preventing you from trusting even those that are closest to you, those that are in your own house. And here's the thing, we're not the only ones who struggled with this. There's an Old Testament prophet who wrote about the extent of his trust issues in this way. And it's found in Micah chapter 7, verses 5-6. And he says, don't trust anyone, not your best friend or even your wife. For the son despises his father, the daughter defies her mother, the daughter-in-law defies the mother. That sounds like a novela. That's a straight up gossip area, right? The enemy, sorry, I just get distracted this way. Your enemies are right in your own household. Like if anybody just took this scripture out of context, right? It's like, oh my gosh. And yet some of you are like, man, I think I just found my life scripture verse. I'm going to go get it tattooed right now. Right? But this verse is really descriptive of this guy's situation and not prescriptive of every situation. In other words, right, it describes the way he was feeling, right? The way he was, not the way you should be. It's not a great deal to live this way, although we all know plenty of people who do. It's not a great idea to live this way, but we all know someone who is living like this. You see, to trust is human, and when we cannot trust, we lose a lot of the human experience. Long-term sociological research tells us this much, right? That customers don't believe ads or do business with brands they do not trust. Leaders who don't inspire trust prove ineffective at maintaining support. People who can't trust their employer are constantly looking for a way out. Couples with low trust have a much higher chance of getting divorced. People with trust issues have more physical and mental health issues. People who cannot build and express trust can't have successful relationships. And yet, on the flip side, being able to trust other people improves all aspects of life. Our social circles expand to include more than our parents and close family. There was a movie, and I don't want to say the name of the movie for fear that it might get interpreted differently or it might sound differently, but it had the circle of trust. If you know what I'm talking about. People who cannot trust and build relationships outside of that. It makes it difficult, right? Our brains and immune systems function better. Our bodies properly regulate our weight and hormones level. We learn to emotionally regulate, have right-sized reactions, and not live in a state of constant anxiety when we're able to trust people. Now, obviously, when you hear this, you say, man, I think we all want that. How do we get that? How do we tap into that? Listen, the kind of connection, contentment, and calm we were created for all requires trust. Right? To find contentment, to find connection, right? To find that calm that we were created for requires us to trust. But we still resist because we were all designed to ask one crucial question before placing our trust in the hands of someone else or something else. And that is it safe? Think about that. Before we go out and start giving trust away, we ask ourselves that question. Is it safe? Is this person safe? Can this person be trusted? Because we don't want to get hurt again. We don't want to get hurt again. And that's not a bad thing either. What Proverbs writer wrote in Proverbs 22:3, wise people analyze situations and proceed with caution. So what does Scripture tell us? How does Scripture navigate this path about trusting others, right? It tells us to trust those who's proven themselves trustworthy. What does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? I want to tell you what it means. And Jesus speaks on this. And he says in John chapter 10, and starting with verse 11, he says it this way: I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. A hired hand will run when he sees a wolf coming. He will abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him, and he isn't their shepherd. And so the wolf attacks them and scatters the flock. The hired hand runs away because he's working only for the money and doesn't really care about the sheep. Verse 14, I am the good shepherd. I know my own sheep and they know me. Just as my Father knows me, I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep, verse 16, I have other sheep too, that are not in this sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock with one shepherd. Now some of you don't like that word sheep, right? You don't like that word sheep, but the truth is we are all sheep. We are all sheep. But here's why Jesus uses this metaphor. I'm going to upset some of you right now. We have a lot more in common with the sheep than we want to admit, right? The sheep are needy. They are vulnerable. They are impulsive, and they are anxious. We are needy, vulnerable, impulsive, and anxious. Sheep meet sheep, right? And everyone in that state, everyone who's in that state of being vulnerable, needy, impulsive, and anxious, right, is prone to trust anyone they think might emulate those feelings in them, including the wrong people. Which is why Jesus calls himself the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd who loves his sheep instead of a hired hand who's in it only for the ways that it benefits him or her. So why would these sheep trust this shepherd? He's willing to sacrifice on their behalf. He's capable of protecting them and refuses to abandon them. He's proven he cares deeply about their needs and not just his own. He's taken the time to understand who they are and how they feel. Bottom line is, these sheep trust this shepherd, not because of his position or because he told them to or because they feel obligated to. But these sheep trust this shepherd because he's proven to be trustworthy. Proven to be trustworthy. In other words, trust is earned, not awarded. Right? Trust has to be earned. And so that we all understand this, Jesus invites us to trust him, not because he's God, not because he said so, not because we should feel obligated to do so, but because he's proven himself to be trustworthy. And he's done that by laying down his life on our behalf, right? By refusing to ever leave us or forsake us, by caring for our specific needs and showing us that he understands how it feels to be us. That is why he is the good shepherd. And that is why he's asking for our trust. Listen, God doesn't shame any one of us. Right? He doesn't shame anyone into trusting him. That's not what God is in the business of doing. He humbles himself to earn our trust again and again and again. Not because he has to, but because he loves us. Because he loves us. And here's the thing, even so, some of us are still find ourselves foolishly trusting hired hands. Some of us still find ourselves gravitating to the hired shepherd instead of the good shepherd. Because, and truth be told, we wound up getting hurt. Because they run when things get tough and abandon, right? They abandon us when we need them the most because they only care about themselves and what they can squeeze out of the situation to benefit themselves. That's what hired hands do. So why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep running to the hired hands? Well, truth is that humans, right? We were created to live in deep, trusting relationships with other people. That's how God created us, to be in deep, meaningful, trusting relationships with others. Scripture tells us this starting in Genesis, right? And everything that we've learned about science continues to confirm this. An oversimplified way of putting this or saying this, right, is that we have an upper brain and a lower brain. Maybe you've heard this before. An upper brain and a lower brain. The lower brain is responsible for automatic functions like breathing, blinking, heart beating, digesting. It's also responsible for innate responses like fight, flight, or freeze. It's also responsible for strong emotions like anger, fear, and attraction. That is the lower brain, right? Your lower brain learns from experiences that you have engaged in and seen and witnessed. It makes subconscious predictions and releases chemicals in your brain and into your body, right? To create whatever response it's convinced will keep you safe. Right? That's how the lower brain works. Sometimes it's right, spot on, and other times it's no bueno. It failed you. Now the upper brain is where the smart stuff lives. In the upper brain. Things like judgment, impulse control, considering consequences, wisdom, values, and choices. It helps us analyze data, right? And determine who to trust and who not to trust. But here's the thing. Sometimes these two parts come into conflict with one another, right? They start breakdancing, right? And they get into conflict with one another. And each can bypass the other. Each one can sidestep the other. But when push comes to shove, the lower brain starts to flex. The lower brain starts to flex and starts to seize control, hijacking your reasoning with convincing chemical prompts, which is why you can fall in love with someone who doesn't have the ability to take care of you. Which is why you can really want a business deal to go through and bypass and not see all of the warning signs against it. Which is why you can be so excited to join a group that you're blind to the ways that this group will be bad for you and the influence they will have on you. Which is why you can want a house so bad, right, that you would put your money down and ignore the cost to maintain it. Friends, when our desires are amped up with trust chemicals, the combination can drive us to a destination that we do not want to go. Humans desire trust so much that we're always moving forward unless a bad experience has made us defensive and caused us to be suspicious about it. Or we've learned to re-engage our upper brains by asking ourselves a series of wise questions. I'm going to give you those questions real quickly. Do I feel like they understand what I need and want and how I feel? Do I believe they will do what's best for me or just what is best for them? Do they currently have the ability and capacity to do what I need them to do the way I need it done? Do they have the emotional intelligence to communicate to others with kindness, compassion, and clarity? And lastly, do they have a track record of doing what I need them to do in similar situations? We need to ask these questions in order to re-engage our upper brain to better find a fit with someone that we can put our trust in. If not, if that doesn't happen, if they cannot answer these questions, then you can't trust them. You can't trust them, at least not in that area. Not in that area, because in reality, there are different kinds of trust in different kinds of relationships for different needs. Think about that. You have different people in your life that you trust. Like there's people that you only trust for this much of information. There are other people in your life that you trust with this much. And there are people that you just spit it all out. Because they have proven themselves to be someone who is safe, reliable, and honest. Listen, not all trust is transferable. Not all trust is transferable. Someone can have integrity in all sorts of ways, but still prove untrustworthy because they cannot come through for you in a specific way that you need them to. Let me explain. Think of an honest husband whose wife cannot trust him to care for her emotional needs. He's a good dude. He loves her. He provides well, but there are certain things that he just cannot help her in. Think of an honest boss who employees don't trust him to take their complaints seriously. Maybe you've been at a job like that. Think of an honest team member who just isn't good at their role. Like, man, he's a nice dude. And normally we would put him in right field, but I don't think he could catch a fly ball. Hey, Johnny, come back here. Come cheer me on over here. I don't have trust in Johnny to do his job. But when someone has proven themselves to be trustworthy and we place our trust in them, something incredible happens in us. King David writes about this ability to trust God this way. He says in Psalm 23, we've all read it probably before, the Lord is my shepherd. We've all read that, right? Because God has proven himself to be trustworthy. David places his trust in God and was able to experience the kind of connection, contentment, and calm that he longed for. He became increasingly less needy, less vulnerable, less impulsive, less anxious. And the more that he leaned into his relationship with the Lord, the better things got. And the stronger that relationship was, the easier it was to the easier it became for him to make smart, upper-brained decisions about who else to trust. So much so that he writes in Psalms 56, 3-4, that even if others break his trust, God never will. He got to that point in his life. Man, I've been burned before. I don't know who to trust, but he began to trust in the Lord. He began to see that God was the shepherd, the good shepherd, his provider. And the more he leaned into that relationship, the more confident he felt about trusting God. And because he could count on God, nothing anyone else could do to him could ever break him. Because the good shepherd was always watching him and had his back. So let me wrap up this morning. Friends, to understand that God is a good God, to understand that Jesus is the good shepherd, to understand that he wants so much for us to put our trust in him, that he will never leave us nor forsake us, that he will not lead us out to dry, that he will lead us to the good pastures. That's the good news. That's the good news. The only one who's always truly trustworthy is God. It's God. The only one that is truly trustworthy is God. And Jesus is like God, right? So if you want to be trustworthy, if you want to be seen as someone who is trustworthy, then you must align your life with the words and ways of Jesus. If you want to be trustworthy, you need to be like Jesus. But Pastor, Jesus was holy. Okay, yeah, I get that. But he was also man. And he laid down his life to prove himself that he was worthy of our trust. Because he is the good shepherd. And friends, if you cannot tell if your life looks like Jesus's, you should ask the people around you, the people that you do life with. Start with the people in your own house, your spouse, your children. Ask them if you can be trusted, if you are acting like Jesus. Because they're going to tell you. Well, if they start off with, well, you're in trouble. Well, I I ain't say it. Your kids, your spouse did. You ask the question and see what they say. In fact, that's your homework assignment for today, for this week. Ask a couple of people that are close to you, is it easy to trust me? Is it easy to trust me? Do you feel betrayed by me? Do you feel trusted by me? Why or why not? Why or why not? And that will give you a place to start, a starting point for you. Can you be trusted? Can you be trusted? Next week, we're going to learn about the 5 essentials of trust. And I hope that you join me next week as we're going to hit it hard next week. And I believe with all my heart that this is a great starting point today. Understanding what trust is, understanding that we've been hurt by others because we gave our trust too early. We gave our trust to someone who could not be trusted. And for some of us, we gave our trust to someone who could not provide for us what we needed. We put them in a category that they weren't intended to be in. So stand with me as we close in prayer. And we worship a little bit more.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, or whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you and thank you for watching our online service today.